We're going to take you right now to downtown Atlanta, where Fulton County Commission Chairman Robb Pitts is delivering remarks ahead of tomorrow's primary election. Let's listen in.
Last week, I received a briefing from our Chief of Police at my request on security plans for the May 19th election day. First and foremost, this is what the public needs to know. A police officer will be assigned to each of our 130 voting sites. Now, some of the smaller ones, they'll have roving officers, but most of them will have a police officer assigned at all times while the polls are open to a specific precinct, and in most cases, the officer will be from the jurisdiction in which the precinct is located. Now, turnout. Let's talk about voting turnout. For early voting, we originally had 32 early voting locations. There were a couple of problems that occurred, mechanical and other problems that occurred at 2 of them, so we ended up with 30 early voting locations. During early voting, which ran from April 27th through last Friday, May 15th, this is a great number. I'm so excited about what happened here, our results. 121,636 voters cast their ballots early in Fulton County, Georgia. That is a huge deal for us. That number represents a greater than 32% increase over early voting participation during the 2022 primary, just 4 years earlier. And of that 121,000, 95,980 people chose Democratic ballots. 26,392 chose Republican ballots. Now, we expect tomorrow the trend in greater participation to continue on election day. In fact, I'm one of those who I only vote on election day. I like to stand in line with my neighbors. It's just tradition for me. Early voting is a good thing. People have adjusted to it, but for me, I like to stand in line and vote with my neighbors. So we're planning for a minimum of 100,000 voters to cast their ballot tomorrow in Fulton County, Georgia. But I want Fulton County voters to know that their election, in this election, it will be safe, it will be secure and transparent, and that every legal vote will be counted. Now, in addition to the security measures we put in place, voters should know that they can assist in keeping polls safe. Now, as the old saying goes, if you're at the polls and if you see something that doesn't look right, doesn't feel right, say something to either a police officer or someone in the precinct, for example, the poll manager. Once again, if you see something that doesn't look right, it doesn't feel right, just say something to a police officer or the poll manager. Any unusual or suspicious activity should be reported to law enforcement immediately. But I am personally looking forward to a safe and successful election day in Fulton County, Georgia, because once again, the whole world is going to be watching what happens here in Fulton County, Georgia. Now, changing subjects from election day. In addition to keeping our voters safe, we're continuing to safeguard our 2020 election workers by fighting the Department of Justice subpoena for their personal information. You will recall that there was a request by the Department of Justice for all of the personal information for those who worked in the 2020 elections. Now, what does the DOJ want with their personal information? And by personal information, I mean names, addresses, phone numbers, emails. Lord knows what they're going to do with that information if they get it. But what I do know is that if they succeed in their demand, that information will ultimately be used to harass and intimidate workers. And the attempt here is to chill participation from a volunteer point of view and even from voting itself on Election Day. Now, no one should ever have to experience the vile and despicable threats and harassment that was endured by Shay Moss and Ruby Freeman after the 2020 election. Ever. Now, last week, we filed a motion to unseal the docket in our litigation to squash the Trump administration's subpoena that's seeking the identities and personal information of Fulton County election workers going back to 2020. We made this request in order to allow the public to follow developments in this matter, which is of vital importance to the people of Fulton County. But until the court decides whether to unseal or not, what I can share with you is limited. But I want to assure you, and rest assured, that I and we will continue the fight to protect our election workers from harassment and the baseless disclosure of their personal information. Once again, as I conclude my remarks, I'm very excited about tomorrow. I'm very excited about the participation of the people from Fulton County in the early voting, and I'm just as confident that we will have a significant turnout tomorrow in excess of 100,000 people. So thank you all so much for being with me today. And if you can get the word to our voters, I will be most appreciative.